glasses and get fogged up. Just wave at me. All right, good morning to everyone. Welcome to the Center for Spiritual Living. Maybe I'll move that down a little bit. As you can see, we're starting to gather teddy bears for the Reading Police Department's Blue Santa program. So if you have a teddy bear in the next 3 weeks, please bring it in, and they'll be joining in families and having a lot of company. So we're really excited about that. I'm Reverend Mary Mitchell, and I'm here for you today, and I would like to thank the other members of the team here. Dave is here, Lindy is here, she's new on the sound team, and we're excited about that. We've got Judy here to do a song for us, and Diana Wolfstead's here. If you want to come in and buy some tickets for those beautiful baskets, you've got till 11:30 today to do so, or come in during the week. All right, Judy, would you like to open us up with a song?
Sure.
All right.
God is my source, God is my power, God gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings, God gives me everything I need. God is my source, God is my power, God gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings, God gives me everything I need. Love is my source, love is my power, love gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings, love gives me everything I need. Joy is my source, joy is my power, joy gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings, joy gives me everything I need. God is my source, God is my power, God gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings, God gives me everything I need. God gives me everything I need.
All right, a great round of applause for Judy. We're so happy to have her here this morning, and that's a great song that goes with this talk this morning. All right. If you're new with us, even though you're not here in person, but feel free to come into the office sometime during the week and pick up a friendship or welcome packet. The office is officially closed, but if you pound on the door, somebody will come and help you. So I have some invitations for you this morning, and just as things were starting to get going, we had to shut down again. But we do have this fabulous holiday gift basket raffle. Purchase tickets through Sunday, December 13th. And if you go to our Facebook page, you'll see photos of each of the baskets. The Bliss team just did a fantastic job with them. So something to really enjoy. And the teddy bears deliver now between now and December 13th, and then we'll get them to RPD. This afternoon, the Shasta Interfaith group is having a Thanksgiving Interfaith service. It's going to be online on their Facebook Shasta Interfaith page from 4 to 5:30, and I'll be participating in that. So if you would like to have a nice sense of Thanksgiving, it'll be about 18 different faith groups there, so should be very profound. On Monday, November 24th, the men's group meets again via Zoom from 7 to 9 p.m. And let's see, the midweek pick-me-up at 10 a.m. on Wednesday via Zoom is something that's very enjoyable. And we have about 12 to 15 people every Wednesday, and we would love to have you join us. It's really a nice way to stay connected with people. The office and bookstore is closed, obviously, anyway, because of the purple virus, but the virus ranking. But it will be closed Thursday and Friday for Thanksgiving. And on Tuesday, December 1st, is a real special program. It's called North State Gives. It was created to enable people to donate to nonprofits towards the end of the year, recognizing the value of nonprofit organizations in our community. So if you go on www.northstategives.org, we are one of probably 60 nonprofits that are signed, and you can just donate any amount to the center and they'll get it to us. It's very special. They have special programs during the day. Big companies have donated, like if you get more donations than you expected, then you're eligible for a $1,000 prize. They have different things all day long. The organization that gets the most out-of-state donations could win a prize. There's all kinds of things. So every dollar and every donation is important. Reverend Sue is going to do a class starting December 2nd to the end of the month on Wednesdays, 7 to 8:30 p.m. called The Divine Seeker, and it will be online. So that's all of our announcements. Doug Herber is here to help me with the bell, and I will do the reading, and then he will ring the bell, and then I will do the prayer, and then I'll give a talk. How about that? All right. The reading this morning is from this wonderful, wonderful little booklet. It's called Observations. It was written by Ernest Holmes. There's a whole volume set of these, a whole number of them, and I just happen to have one. And I thought, with the title of this talk, Being Engaged and Motivated with God, that his observations might be beneficial. So here we go. He asks, how many of us go around clinging to the dead corpses of yesterday? How many of us ruin the possibilities of the freedom we might enjoy tomorrow because we're dragging the past into the present? We cannot overlook the fact that out of the past comes the great lessons for the present moment, but it doesn't mean to drag them on with us. We should retain in the present and carry into the future the memory of those things which we desire to perpetuate in our experience. All the good and all the beauty that existed yesterday is worthwhile today in your life, and it will be worthwhile tomorrow. But it's important to deliberately disconnect ourselves with any lack, limitation, or fear from the past. We should not allow ourselves to think about the unhappiness of yesterday. Any resentment which causes the mind to continue to resist, or any memory that's entertained by a spirit of unforgiveness, is bad not only for our health, but our morale. If we know this, and if we free ourselves from fear, uncertainty, doubt, then we shall learn to live in that present, which is ever fraught with truth, goodness, and beauty. Today, through Facebook, we celebrate our oneness. We celebrate that no matter how far away you are from this center that we love so dearly, that we're still one. We still have that connection, and know that the love that is exhibited here today, through the music, through the talk, through the volunteers, is alive and well, keeping this center whole and perfect and complete. Today we especially focus our love of God, the love of the Creator, the infinite intelligence that guides this whole universe. And it's so special to know how we are an important part of that, every one of us. The universe would not be what it is today without you. We're that important. So we celebrate. We celebrate this relationship. Knowing as we do celebrate it, we feel a joy, a sense of expectancy of good. And that's an honorable thing to feel. So with great gratitude, I release this prayer, expecting good for you today. Good for you, good for me, good for this center. Good for all who hear these words. And I release it into the law that always says yes. And so it is. Thank you, Judy. So being engaged and motivated with God. In this small booklet, Observations, Ernest Holmes said, Jesus said, I am the bread of life. He that cometh to me shall never hunger, and he who believeth in me shall never thirst. But after that, Holmes asks a question. Is it not enough for us to say that God is all there is? Because that statement's true before we even asked it. But to make practical use of this wisdom, to demonstrate the availability of this higher power in our life. He says, God is all there is, but then we must say, and that life is my life now. Acceptance. Because God is good, and goodness is mine now. God is substance, and that supply is mine now. God is food, God is shelter, God is happiness. God is life, and that life is my life now. So the creative energy and the infinite intelligence in the universe operates through us. Through us. It's God, and I call it infinite intelligence. It just kind of feels better to me, but it's the same thing. And the way it works is it must be directed in our life. Directed. Otherwise, we just take potluck. Might not be a bad idea, but the purpose here is to know that you are the power in your life. So we must link our thoughts with the thoughts of the infinite. To have a life that we love, we must be engaged, motivated to connect with that higher power. Holmes believed that our problems are just opportunities for greater self-expression because God has no problems. The divine is not worried about the outcome of the election or recalls or revoting or all the things that have gone on the past few weeks. God is not concerned about the stock market, whether it'll go up or down. God is not afraid of future wars. God, as the creative process, as the law of cause and effect, responds to us perfectly. And it disregards anything that happens to us. Now that may seem unkind, but God's not judgmental. So if we're not the guardian of our own mind and find ourselves focused on fear, that's what we're going to experience more of. We experience things that create more fear in our life. Holmes asks us to focus on our spiritual nature and deepen those roots in our mind. Deepen those. Because there's an energy in us that reaches out to divine mind. I always think of it as divine mind is all around me, and my mind is reaching out to that divine mind. Because every problem is a greater opportunity for self-expression, communing with the divine. There's an answer to every problem that exists, but how often do we go to bed worrying about problems? I have a personal story about that. The other night I only slept 2 hours. My mind kept rehearsing all the things that I needed to get done here at the center the next day. When it was time to get up, I thought, okay, do what I was taught. I reached out my arms and I said, Chief Spiritual Officer of my life, big guy, I am intensely grateful for how my day is going to unfold. It's going to unfold with ease and grace. Thank you so much. Because my biggest task was filling out an online government form and uploading pages and pages of documents. It's for funds that we received through the Federal CARES Act, if you've heard of that. It's an act that helps small businesses and nonprofits retain their employees. It was called the Payroll Protection Plan, the PPP. During the initial COVID, we received $21,000 through the PPP. And it was routed to us through our own bank so that we had a local connection. In the initial application to get these funds, we had to demonstrate how many employees we had, the number of hours they worked, and the money they received. And the PPP money enabled us to continue to pay our employees for 4 months. We have 10 employees, but most are part-time, so we have 4.5 full-time equivalents. And so at the end of this, when we give our report back, we have to prove we have 4.5 full-time equivalents or more, which we were able to do, by the way. But although we weren't fully open, what were the employees going to do? We weren't going to pay them for nothing. And so our part-time employees became very creative, such as Dalton, the choir director. He kept creating new music, researching musicians, recording music for our Sunday Facebook services, and staying in touch with choir members. Bonnie, the children's church director, put together weekly lessons for the children that she emailed to their parents, and then she stayed in touch with the parents to see how they were doing in giving these lessons to the children. So Sue and I are so proud of our employees. They went the extra mile, even though they weren't here, but they made real creative effort in their time. And that continued all summer and into the fall. Now, the PPP agreement says after we've spent all the money, we have to prove that we spent it on employees. Otherwise, we'd have to pay some of it back. We could apply for forgiveness. And, heck, that's a heck of a deal, being forgiven $21,000 in government funds and not having to pay it back. So as soon as we used the last dollar, I was ready. Let's pay this back. Let's ask for forgiveness. I was ready to submit that application. So week after week, we would connect with the bank and they would say, hold on, the software is still being created. Hang in there. And so it was ironic, at some point, one of our board members said, I'm just going to drive to the bank and say, we want forgiveness now, and how do we do it? And I said, it's important to wait. We're on the bank's time, not our time. So the next day, it was kind of funny. The next day we received the letter. Go to this website. We will mail you a code, and you'll get in to do the forgiveness application. So I waited for the code, and I waited, and I waited. Did it go into trash? Did it go into spam? Where did it go? A week later, the code had not come. So I was getting real nervous, and that was the night I could not sleep. I was praying, Holy Spirit, there's nothing difficult about a code. It's impossible that it could be this difficult. So I see myself filling out that application, and we need your help on this. I see myself receiving the code, and with ease and grace, it just flows through the system. Well, I got to the office, no code. So I called the 800 number for help, and it connected me with the right person in our bank, Esteban. I'll never forget his name. Esteban checked, and the code was sent to the wrong email address. Great. So he totally understood why I was frustrated. So he gave me a code, and he changed the email to my email, and he said, "You'll get it, call back if you have a problem." I was so grateful. Thank you, Chief Spiritual Officer. I thought it would be done in a few minutes, and then I'd be on to all the other things I had to do. But when I entered the code, it said, "This is an invalid code. Call it up, Esteban." The code number is invalid, and he just laughed. He said, "No worries, he'll send me another code. And he'll stay on the phone with me until I get this completed, and the web page goes, 'You're in, you're done.'" I just so grateful for him. So there was God in the form of Esteban. The system sent me a new code to my email. And by the time I signed in, got the code, signed back into the system, by the time I got to the page to enter the code, it was invalid. Come on, God, it can't be this difficult. "Hey, Esteban, what's the deal?" He just laughed. He said it was designed that way. From the time I opened the email till the time I copy the code, go back into the system, get to the page to put in the code, I only had 5 minutes, and it would say, "Your code's invalid." Interesting they would make it that way. But he laughed and he shared with me, he said, "You know, when I was learning this system, I spent a whole day getting invalid codes until I figured out what in the heck this is all about." So he had a good sense of humor about it. So 6 emails and 6 codes later, 5 were invalid, I got so fast on it, I made it in, and Melody's standing beside me, and we're just cheering. So then I go to the page to upload all the volume of documents to prove we did everything with employees: state taxes, federal taxes, unemployment insurance, blah, 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 blah. I open the page to enter the documents, and it says, "Choose the documents from this selection." And none of them were the documents that were in the instructions. So we're going, this is interesting. How can this be? What are we not seeing? And Melody said, "Look, there's a category called miscellaneous. I guess that's the one we'll use." So every document we uploaded went under miscellaneous, but when it went in the system, it said payroll sales tax, or a payroll tax report -miscellaneous. So everything got uploaded with our formal name of that file. So I was really glad about that. Finally, the screen said, "Congratulations." It was like fireworks going off. So Esteban, we have a lot of gratitude for you. But you know, experiences like that, to be honest, feel almost traumatic. But Holmes writes that whenever we find ourselves in a tight situation, instead of becoming confused or distraught or fearful, just stop. Stop for a moment. Calm the mental confusion, calm the struggle. And he suggests an affirmation. "There is a presence and power and intelligence within me that does know. Spirit within me is the Spirit of God, the living intelligence, universal mind, perfect and complete. It knows and it knows me, and it now guides, guards, and controls me." I thought, wow, I should have had that at hand right on my desk. By using statements like that, we're re-educating our conscious mind and we're redirecting our subconscious mind, because we're dealing with a power that is unlimited, but it operates by law. Many of you know that for the last 11 years, I've been corresponding with a prisoner who's in for life without parole. And 11 years ago, he found me, thanks to Creative Thought magazine, and asked me to help him study the science of mind because he thought it might help him. Well, I saved all his letters and my letters to him, and we're getting close to publishing a book of his letters to me and my letters to him. And the title right now is called My Search for Ancient Wisdom and Finding Practical Spirituality. This philosophy has dramatically changed his life from being a gangster who committed murder to a prison Buddha. He wrote something recently. I was going through some of the chapters, and that speaks to the title of this talk about being engaged and motivated with God. And I thought I would share this with you this morning. His name's Michael. And he wrote, "Having balance is an important thing, but one day the good must dominate the bad for one's life to mean anything. In order to become strong, meaningful, and a worthy human being, one has to eliminate that which is weak within him. Often this process is hell, but any metal only becomes strong once it's been through fire, because fire purifies and strengthens the metal, as struggle, sacrifice, and strife have done for me. After growing from weak to strong, I am dedicated to the work of doing good for others. I'm strong enough to continue to eliminate my destructive habits and weakness, for to stay in my weakness would only destroy me. Simply driven by events to an accounting, I've come to terms with my negative patterns. I understand my past is contaminated with negative choices, and I understand how aspects of my true self have been inconsistent with how I wish to do life. Finding my own truth is a task that is never too late to take on, because where I now stand in my life is a constant reminder that divinity has brought me to this point of who I truly am, and it is good to become good, because it feels good, and I feel God. Amazing experience. So in this teaching, we learn to make ourselves receptive to the idea of even love, to become lovable, to the degree we can embody love and we can share love. That's why people who love realize it doesn't pay to hate anyone, because hate is a human idea, but love is divine. If we make ourselves receptive to the ideas of peace, calm, poise, and we call upon those divine realities, they start flowing through us, and we become peaceful, poised, and calm. We find that mental equilibrium and balance. So if you're unhappy, stop it. Stop it and call upon joy. Today is a gorgeous day. The fall colors are spectacular. Drive down Victor by Enterprise Park and it will open up your soul. Watch the geese flying south for the winter. Take a walk in the fresh air after months of smoke. Because finding joy, to me, that I drive up and down the I-5 freeway every day, joy would be getting on I-5 and having no other car in sight. That would just be the coolest thing. And then I could sing. And when I got home, I could dance. You know, I could lay in the grass. I could smell the roses. All these things are available to us if we decide, stop being unhappy, fearful, whatever, and bring in joy. Holmes has a beautiful saying, act as though I am and I will be. Act as though I'm engaged with God and I will be. There is pent-up energy in each one of us just waiting for our recognition of it. You might even feel it. There's this energy waiting for our awareness that the banquet of our life is here, not in the future. That virus, COVID, is showing us, pulling us, pushing us to be more engaged with Spirit. It's giving us the time to do so. So what are we waiting for? Now is the time, and the place is where we are right now. The greater our receptivity and comprehension of our connection with Spirit, the more complete is the flow of grace in our life. I have this other wonderful little booklet, Pathways of Being, Living Grace. It was published by the Science of Mind Foundation. The articles attempt to convey a sense of the transformational possibilities that accompany growth in spiritual awareness. And the word grace, derived from a Latin word meaning pleasure, favor, or thanks, in theological terms, it means divine love, protection bestowed on us. Living in grace can be a natural condition, for we know the nature of God is eternal givingness. Nothing is withheld from us. But the divine blessing is a function of law, the law of mental equivalence. How much grace we can experience depends on the scope of our belief that we live in a universe filled with grace. The only limitations are the ones we impose on ourselves. There are only 4 chapters in this book, and they correspond to the 4 qualities associated with living in a state of grace: serenity, joy, compassion, and unconditional love. Serenity is the harmony of my being is sustained because in God there is no discord. I look for and expect the good in other people. I live in a universe of harmony, for God is peace. Joy. I let God express joyously in everything I do. I know that all avenues are open to these spiritual ideas to express. I do it all for God, and my heart is filled with joy. Compassion. I acknowledge the Christ presence. It lifts my thought above the suffering of humanity into the compassionate love of God. I affirm that the Christ in each of us governs everything that comes into our experience. Unconditional love. The love of God creates a warm friendliness in us to those around us. And as we express that friendliness, it enriches our expression in life. So it's the love of God that holds me secure in offering unconditional love. Holmes believed that the greatest good that can come to us is by forming an absolute certainty of our relationship with the universe. We're each part of it, and some part of it is eternal God. So while we're forever reaching out, growing and expanding, Spirit is forever incarnating itself as us, through us. I read an article that suggested that we engage with God and feel the presence of God in the same way we engage with someone we love. Think of a relationship, maybe a husband-wife relationship or a parent-child relationship. When you first met, husband-wife, let's say, what did you do to sustain and nourish that relationship? You know, I remember my first husband and that initial love. We couldn't see enough of each other. We could talk for hours and hours, drive in the car for hours, hike in the parks for hours. We couldn't get enough of each other. But you know, over time, the tendency is to start taking each other for granted. And when you realize that, maybe you're realizing it now, what do you do? Well, some couples have date nights, create special times together, enjoy deeper conversations that nurture the relationship. Your relationship with God is that important. So how do you spend time with God? Do you connect every day? Do you read spiritual books? Do you read scripture? Do you do spiritual practices? Do you read the Science of Mind text again? And if you haven't read Holmes' book called This Thing Called You, please do in the new year. That is one of the best. So engage and be motivated to connect to your divine engage and be motivated to connect with your divine self and enjoy the grace that comes into your life. Enjoy it, and it is good, as Michael would say. It is good to feel God. So back to the little book of observations, Holmes suggests that we Come out into the open, into the sunshine, into the free, boundless mental horizon. Accept those divine ideas that are projected into us from our invisible nature. Let the sunlight of eternal truth melt those prison walls and the walls of our own imprisonment. Let it light up the cell and unlock the door of our consciousness and set us free. So I encourage you, all who are listening, after this talk is the offertory, but we're not taking one here. So I invite you, after the offertory that you send to us or whatever, go out and engage with God today. Life is a beautiful adventure. Enjoy every moment of it. So let's pray about that. This is an absolutely gorgeous day here in Reading. The fall colors could not be more magnificent. And it reminds me of the magnificence within each one of us. I invite you to feel that now. How incredible you are. And that we are brothers and sisters to each other in this travel through life. And as we open up to the grace that's all around us and we invite it in, life becomes more magical, more precious, more incredible. We really do begin to see God's Spirit in everyone and everything, and it enriches our lives. I am so grateful for this teaching, so grateful for Ernest Holmes. Personally, so grateful for the evolution of Michael's soul. Knowing this philosophy changes millions of lives every year. So I release any concern I may have about what's happening in the world, in politics, with my neighbors, with anything. And I trust my soul's journey, and I trust your soul's journey. We are right and perfect where we are. And we choose to enrich our connection with God today. I accept it for you and me. Thank you, God. And so it is. All right. The office is closed, but you can mail in your offering. You can knock on the door with your mask and we'll come and get it. Or bring a teddy bear. Take time to bring one of the stuffed animals you find during the week, because they will find a beautiful home with the children in this community or the children at the hospital. They will find a home in the trunk of RPD's police vehicles as they go to a call on domestic violence and have something sweet to offer a child. So I encourage you. Call up if you want to buy a raffle ticket. We'll take care of it for you if you don't want to come in. But know that Sue and I and the staff and all who volunteer in this wonderful place are here for you. So now we have a song by Dalton, and I just want to thank you for being present here with us.
I build my life on the rock of spirit. I build my life on the rock of prayer. I build my life on the rock of ages, and I know that God is always there. I build my life with a sense of purpose. There will be no shifting sands. I build my life on the rock of spirit, so I'm held by his loving hands. I build my life on the rock of spirit. I build my life on the rock of prayer. I build my life on the rock of ages, and I know that God is always there. I build my life with a sense of purpose. There will be no shifting sands. I build my life on the rock of spirit, so I'm held by his loving hands. I build my life on the rock of spirit. I build my life on the rock of prayer. I build my life on the rock of ages, and I know that God is always there. I build my life with a sense of purpose. There will be no shifting sands. I build my life on the rock of spirit, so I'm held by his loving hands. I build my life on the rock of spirit, so I'm held by his loving hands.
And stay safe.